She used to light up when she saw you. Now her smile is distant, like it belongs to a stranger. The woman who once made you feel like a king now barely looks you in the eyes. And you've been wondering what changed. You try harder. You give more. You think if you love her right, if you show her you're solid, if you hold on long enough, things will go back to the way they used to be. But let me tell you something you already know deep down. The version of her you're trying to get back doesn't exist anymore. The moment she stopped valuing you, the relationship ended, even if you're still in it. If this message reaches you, don't keep it to yourself. Support this channel. Help us reach more men who are silently struggling, because together we can change lives. We can make truth louder than pain. You watching this now could be the reason someone else finds their strength later. In the beginning, everything feels normal, almost too normal. She still texts you good morning, still kisses you good night, but something's off, you feel it. Her words come slower now, like she's replying out of duty instead of desire. Her tone has shifted, and when you look into her eyes, that familiar warmth, it's missing. At first you don't want to believe it. You tell yourself she's stressed. Maybe work's been heavy. Maybe it's hormones. Maybe she just needs space. And because you're a man who wants to support his woman, you give her that space. You don't push, you stay patient. You do what good men are told to do. Give love, show understanding, stay strong, but deep inside, something doesn't sit right. That gut feeling grows louder. You start noticing how she's on her phone more when you talk, how she cancels plans more often, how conversations become shorter, shallower. You find yourself always being the one to initiate the texts, the hugs, the plans. And when you stop for a day or two, nothing changes. She doesn't chase, she doesn't check in. You feel invisible even though you're right there. Then there's the silence. Not just the silence of words, but the silence of connection. She can be sitting right next to you and still feel like she's miles away. You reach out with your presence, hoping she'll meet you there, and all you get back is a blank look or a distracted response. It's like talking to someone through glass. She hears you, but she's not really with you. That's when the self-doubt creeps in. You lie awake at night thinking, did I do something wrong? You start replaying past moments, looking for clues. You blame yourself. Maybe you weren't romantic enough. Maybe you didn't help enough. Maybe you weren't ambitious enough. You convince yourself that if you become the perfect man, she'll come back. She'll love you again. She'll smile like she used to. She'll touch you like she used to. You start changing who you are. Not for growth, but to win back her affection. But this is where the real danger begins. When you start losing yourself trying to hold on to her. Because real love doesn't ask you to become smaller. It doesn't demand that you twist and turn to remain good enough. True love sees you fully and chooses you anyway, even in your flaws, even in your struggle. When love is real, it makes you feel more like yourself, not less. This moment when you first feel her slipping away is the hardest part. Not because of what she's doing, but because of what it makes you question about yourself. You feel like your worth is hanging in the balance of her affection. You start walking on emotional eggshells, afraid to say too much or too little. You try harder, thinking that more effort means more love, but instead, you feel emptier with each attempt. This is the moment many men don't talk about. It's quiet, it's internal, but it changes everything. It's the moment you know, she's still here, but she's already gone. And now the real question begins to form in your mind. Do I keep chasing her? We're taught that when things get hard, you don't run, you don't quit. You fight harder. So when a relationship starts to feel one-sided, when the woman you care about begins to pull away emotionally, your instinct isn't to leave, it's to hold on tighter. You begin making excuses for her behavior. You tell yourself she's under pressure. Maybe it's work. Maybe it's her family. Maybe she just needs space. You remind yourself that relationships take work and that you're not supposed to give up easily. So you keep showing up, even as her presence starts to disappear. You give more, you listen more, you try harder, you wait patiently for her to come around. And in the process, you begin to abandon yourself quietly, slowly, and completely. It happens little by little. First, she cancels plans last minute. You brush it off, then she stops asking about your day. You ignore it. Then she stops touching you. You rationalize it. You tell yourself it's a phase. You hold on to the good times, the laughs, the long talks, the moments that felt real. You believe that if you're just consistent enough, if you keep being the man you were at the beginning, she'll come back to you emotionally. You convince yourself this is what love is supposed to be, proving your worth through struggle. But that belief becomes dangerous when it blinds you to reality. Because the truth is, you're not in a relationship anymore. You're in a negotiation where only one person is still showing up with heart and effort. And instead of recognizing that, you become your own defense attorney. You build arguments in her favor. You explain her distance as fatigue, her coldness as confusion, her neglect as emotional overwhelm. You work overtime to protect her image in your mind. Because facing the truth would mean admitting that her love may no longer be real. And while you're doing all this mental gymnastics, something else is happening. You're losing yourself. Your self-respect starts to fade. Your confidence takes hits every day. You feel less seen, less appreciated, less like a man. You become more anxious, more insecure. And worst of all, you start to believe that this is what you deserve, that if you were better, she'd treat you better. That's the cruelest part of this trap. It turns your love into guilt and your loyalty into self-punishment. You think staying makes you strong, but strength isn't about suffering silently. It's about knowing when your presence is no longer respected and choosing yourself before you fall apart. What you're calling love has become survival. You're not growing, you're not being nourished emotionally. You're trying to keep something alive that's already flatlined. And every day you stay, you're teaching yourself that your needs don't matter, that your emotions don't matter, that your peace comes last. This isn't love anymore, it's emotional drowning. And the longer you hold your breath, the further you sink. When a woman begins to lose emotional connection with you, it doesn't happen with a dramatic scene or a loud declaration. It often comes in quiet waves you can feel but can't always explain. She might still be there physically, sitting next to you on the couch, sharing meals, going about the daily routine, but emotionally, it's like she's disappeared. You sense the change in her tone, in the way her eyes no longer lock with yours. The laughter you once shared now feels forced. The conversations that once flowed now feel dry and obligatory. She used to ask about your dreams, your thoughts, your feelings. Now she barely reacts when you speak. And the hardest part, she might not even realize she's changed. She may not understand what's slipping away inside her, but you do. You feel the emotional air growing thinner, the warmth replaced by formality, the connection replaced by distance. You try to fix it. You give more attention, plan more thoughtful moments, ask her what's wrong, but nothing brings her closer. Nothing sparks that old fire. Her value for you isn't always lost in a single moment, it fades gradually. But here's what most men were never told. Once a woman stops emotionally choosing you, her respect starts to fade. And without respect, love cannot survive. Not the kind of love that sustains. You see, love isn't just about affection or attraction. It's rooted in how she sees you. Whether she sees you as someone to admire, someone who leads, someone who has boundaries, someone who knows his worth. If that perception shifts, everything else follows. It doesn't mean you became less. It doesn't mean you failed. But in her eyes, something shifted. And once respect is gone, even the kindest efforts will be dismissed. You'll give more and feel emptier. You'll speak more and feel unheard. You'll stay longer and feel lonelier. Men fall into a dangerous place when they try to earn back a woman's value through effort. They think if they do more, give more, prove more, she'll see their worth again. But respect isn't earned through overcompensation. It's maintained through balance, through boundaries, through clarity. When you start begging for her energy, her love, her attention, you're already playing from behind, and she can sense it. You cannot convince someone to value you once they've chosen to see you differently. And the moment you start trying to convince them, you step out of your place as a man. Not because love shouldn't involve effort, but because effort without recognition becomes desperation, and desperation erodes what little attraction remains. This is a truth many men struggle with. You can love someone deeply and they can still stop valuing you, and it's not always your fault. People change, emotions shift, but you must be man enough to recognize when something sacred like respect has left the relationship. Because once respect is gone, no amount of love can fill that space. And staying in that space, hoping things will return to what they were, will only lead you further into self-abandonment. You miss her more than you can explain, not just the person she was, but the way she made you feel, the way she smiled at you when you walked into the room, how she'd lean into you during those slow, quiet evenings, how you'd laugh over things no one else understood, the inside jokes, the late-night talks, the warmth of her presence when words weren't even needed. You don't just miss her, you miss the safety, the closeness, the emotional home she once gave you. So naturally, your mind keeps going back to the good times. It replays them like a favorite movie. The early texts that came before the sun was up just to say she was thinking of you. The way she used to look at you when you talked about your goals, like you were unstoppable. The way she'd grab your hand, unexpectedly, or rest her head on your shoulder without saying a word. These moments flood your memory. They hurt and comfort you all at once. And because you miss that version of her so much, you start trying to bring it back. You do the things that used to make her smile. You remind her of those special moments. You change your routine, trying to spark a reaction. Something, anything that feels familiar. You keep hoping the old version of her will return. That the woman who once loved you openly is still in there, buried under stress or time or confusion. Do you hold on thinking that maybe, just maybe, this is just a temporary cold season that will thaw? But what you're holding on to isn't real anymore. That version of her, the one who looked at you with admiration, who gave you affection without hesitation, who made you feel like her whole world, that version is gone. It's not because she's evil or cruel. People change, feelings shift, hearts evolve, and sometimes without warning, someone you love becomes someone who no longer sees you the same. You're not fighting for her anymore. You're fighting for an illusion, for a memory that you're trying to turn back into reality. And every time you try to recreate it and fail, it crushes you just a little more. You begin questioning your worth. You wonder why you can't make her feel what she used to. You think maybe you're broken or not enough or too much. But the truth is, you're not broken. You're just stuck in the past, hoping the person she was can undo the pain of the person she's become. This is one of the deepest kinds of pain, grieving someone who is still alive, still physically present, still under the same roof maybe, but emotionally a ghost. And that ghost keeps you chasing what was instead of facing what is. You see, the pain you're carrying doesn't just come from losing her, it comes from losing the hope you had. That hope, the belief that love would always be enough, that she would always choose you, that this connection was unshakable. That hope has become your prison. It whispers, just hold on a little longer. Just try a little harder. And so you keep investing your time, your energy, your heart into something that no longer gives back. But the past doesn't owe you closure, and the illusion won't carry you forward. The only way to stop suffering is to stop negotiating with what no longer exists. You have to stop begging the past to explain itself. You have to stop rewriting the ending of a story that's already over. What's needed now is not effort, but acceptance. Acceptance that the version of her you loved is no longer here. That who she was is not who she is now, and that your healing will begin the moment you stop clinging to what you wish it was and start accepting what it actually is. Most men misunderstand what emotional detachment really means. They think it's about shutting down, becoming numb, acting like nothing touches them anymore. So they put on a mask. They laugh when they want to cry. They act strong when they're falling apart inside. They bottle up everything and convince themselves that if they just block out the emotions, they'll get through it faster. But pretending not to feel isn't healing, it's hiding. And hiding is not strength, it's fear in disguise. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you turn cold or heartless. It means you stop letting your emotions control yourself. It means you stop making your peace dependent on someone else's presence. Real detachment is choosing to feel everything, the heartbreak, the rejection, the confusion, and still choosing to move forward. It's standing in the middle of emotional chaos, letting the waves hit you, and not running from them. It's saying, yes, this hurts. Yes, I feel betrayed, but no, I won't let this break me. The real work of detachment starts not when you push your feelings away, but when you face them head on. When you sit with the pain, breathe through the discomfort, and allow yourself to grieve. Grieve the version of her you loved. Grieve the relationship you thought would last. Grieve the future you imagined. And after that grief, something powerful happens. Clarity. You begin to see things for what they are, not what you hoped they would be. You stop rewriting the story in your head and start accepting the truth in front of you. That's when detachment begins to transform you. You start reclaiming your emotional energy. You stop obsessing over her silence. You stop checking her social media, wondering what she's doing, who she's with. You stop giving your mental space to someone who's already made a choice not to value you. You take all that energy, the overthinking, the analyzing, the waiting, and you pour it back into yourself. You learn to find peace in your own presence. You rediscover your passions. You start showing up for yourself the way you used to show up for her. And slowly, you begin to feel something you haven't felt in a while. Self-respect, the kind that doesn't depend on someone else's approval. The kind that grows when you decide you're done begging for love and ready to build it within. This is what emotional detachment really is. It's not the absence of love. It's the presence of boundaries. It's the ability to love without losing yourself, to care without collapsing, to give without expecting your value to be proven in return. When you detach emotionally, you're not giving up. You're waking up. You're realizing that continuing to invest in someone who doesn't choose you back is no longer an act of love. It's an act of self-abandonment. And you refuse to keep betraying yourself in the name of loyalty. You've done everything that a man with heart could do. You gave her your love, not halfway, not guarded, but fully. You were patient when she was distant. You stayed calm when she pulled back. You listened when she stopped speaking. You stayed loyal when the relationship started to feel one-sided. You showed up day after day, not because everything was perfect, but because you believed in the connection. You fought for it, not just with words, but with presence. And still, after all of that, she drifted. You kept believing there was something left to save. You held on to the moments that used to feel real. You reminded yourself of the way she looked at you when things were good. You told yourself that seasons change and maybe she just needed time. You justified her coldness, ignored the signs, and swallowed the pain. You gave her the benefit of every doubt, not once, but many times, and each time she gave you less. This is the part where many men get stuck. They think that giving up means failure, that walking away means they didn't try hard enough, that maybe if they just held on a little longer, she'd finally come back emotionally. But the truth is, your staying power doesn't make you a better man if it comes at the cost of your dignity. Loving someone who no longer values you isn't strength. It's slow destruction, and you've got to know the difference. It's time to face a reality that's painful but necessary. She made a choice. Whether she spoke it out loud or not, her actions revealed it. She chose to stop valuing your presence. She chose not to return your consistency. She chose not to meet you where you were. And no matter how much you love her, you cannot unchoose that for her. This is not your failure. This is her decision, and now you have to make yours. You have to decide whether you will keep trying to resurrect something that's no longer breathing, or whether you will finally breathe life back into yourself. You have to choose whether you'll keep waiting for her to remember your worth, or whether you'll remember it for yourself. You have to decide, do I keep shrinking in this space just to keep her comfortable, or do I stand up and walk out with my self-respect intact? Walking away doesn't mean you stopped loving her. It means you finally started loving yourself more. It means you realize that peace is more valuable than proximity, that your soul is worth more than temporary affection, that you don't belong in places where you are tolerated, where your presence is ignored, where your efforts go unseen. You don't need to hate her. You don't need to curse her name. You don't need revenge. What you need is peace. And that peace begins the moment you say, I am no longer available for this kind of love. When you declare that your heart is too precious to beg for the bare minimum. When you finally understand that your value does not depend on whether she sees it or not. Walking away is not weakness, it's power, it's clarity. It's a man standing up not because he stopped caring, but because he started choosing his own peace over emotional poverty. And that choice will echo far beyond the relationship. It will shape the man you become next. There is a version of you on the other side of this pain, a stronger, clearer, freer man. But to become him, you must let go of who you were trying to be for her. You were never meant to fight alone. You were meant to grow in love, not wither under its absence. So today, make yourself a promise that you will no longer explain away disrespect, that you will no longer beg for energy that should have been given freely, that you will no longer stay in places where your heart is only half welcomed. You deserve full love. You deserve peace. You deserve respect that doesn't have to be earned every day like a paycheck. If you're still watching this right now, type unstoppable in the comments. Let us know you made it to the end, that you're one of the few men brave enough to face the hard truth and walk through it. Let your presence be a signal to others they're not alone. Support this channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. Every bit of support helps us bring this message to more men who need to hear it. And if this video helped you even a little, share it. Be the reason someone else stops begging for love and starts standing for their worth.